VIP pass. Grew up fast, created my own class. With no one to guide me to see me through. I learned early to do what I had to do. I learned from the street to take the heat. Didn't know right from wrong. Determined still to carry on. Lessons learned at the expense of shame. I learned from the street to take the pain. Exploited blacks on the big screen. Often imitated on the night scene. But it all seemed so real. I didn't know I was selling my soul for the thrill. I learned from the street to get mine. Someone said, "Pepper, you do fine." Old men standing in line. Shut off your feeling and close your eyes, because these are the lessons of lies, of lies, of lies, of lies. The mind is a dangerous thing in the street game. Wounded from the street, forever no pain. The beating of my heart sounding like the drums, and paid homage to my ancestors. Not only to the slave ancestors, but to the ancient ancestors who took gold to their graves and were buried with their slaves. I use the beating of my heart to imitate the sounds of the drum that Harriet Tubman used to make her runs. I use the beating of my heart to imitate the sounds of the drums that will take me to my ancestors' place when I'm old and done. Beat on. Have you ever seen a black man cry? Have you ever seen a black man sitting or standing, shaking his head, wondering why? Have you ever seen the eyes of a black man who couldn't provide for his life, who couldn't provide for his wife their lives? Have you ever seen a black man cry? Have you ever seen a black man whose promises were made into lies by someone else on the outside? Have you ever seen a black man beat down in his mind? Have you ever seen a black man cry? Have you ever seen a black man who continues to try and still end up on the wrong side? Have you ever seen a black man sitting, standing, shaking his head, wondering why he is alive? Have you ever watched a black man die inside because he couldn't provide for his own life? I have, and I cried. I'll always know. Struggling ain't new. It ain't nothing nice. Most struggles have passed down from generation to generation once or twice. Some ancestors fought for freedom, some for equality. Now the struggle belongs to me. See, forgive me, because I struggle to believe in that which I cannot see. I struggle because my soul ain't free. Oh struggles, what do you ask of me? This woman of color that needs to be. Some women struggle to love. I struggle not to hate. Some women struggle to give, I to receive. Some struggle for trust, I struggle for truth. Some women struggle to succeed, I to simply be. You see, my struggle is like the river trying to find the mouth of the sea. Some women struggle to laugh. I struggle not to cry. Some women struggle to keep their lives, and some will struggle until they die. Intezake, Shage, thank you, Brother Anderson. I know she's the one that did for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. I know that. Whenever these things happened to me and I was young, I would eat a lot or buy new fancy underwear with rhinestones and lace, or go to the movies. Maybe call a friend, talk to made-up boyfriends till dawn. This was when I was under my parents' roof, and the trees that grew into my room had to be cut back once again. This was when the birds sometimes flew through the halls of the house as if the ceiling were sky, and I simply another winged creature. Yet no one around me noticed me especially. No one around saw anything but a precocious brown girl with peculiar ideals. Like during the polio epidemic, I wanted to have a celebration, which nobody could understand, since iron lungs and not going swimming wasn't nothing to celebrate. But I explained that I was celebrating the bounty of the Lord, which most people didn't understand till I went on to say that it was obvious that God had protected the colored folks from polio, and nobody understood that. I did. If God had made colored people susceptible to polio, then we'd be on the pictures and the television with the white children. I knew only white folks could get that particular disease, and I celebrated. That's how come I always commemorated anything that affected me or the colored people. According to my history of the colored race, not enough attention was paid to the small victories or small personal defeats of the colored. I celebrated the colored trolley driver, the colored basketball team, the colored blues singer, and the colored light heavyweight champion of the world. Then, too, I had a Baptist child's version of high mass for the slaves in New Orleans, whom I read about. And I tried to grow watermelons and rice for the dead slaves from the East. As a child, I took on the burden of easing the ghost colored folks' souls and trying hard to keep up with the affairs of my own colored world. When when I became a woman. See, when I became a woman, my world got smaller. My grandma closed up the windows so the birds wouldn't fly in the house anymore. Was bad luck for a girl so young and in my condition to have the shadows of flying creatures over my head. I didn't celebrate the trolley driver anymore because he might know I was in this condition. I didn't celebrate the basketball team anymore because they was young and handsome. And young and handsome could mean trouble. But trouble was when the white kids called your names or beat you up because you didn't have no older brother. Trouble was when someone died or the tornado hit your house. Now trouble meant something about young and handsome and white or colored. If he was young and handsome, that meant trouble. Seems like everyone who didn't have this condition so the birds couldn't fly over your head was trouble. As I understood it, my mama and grandma were sending me out to be with trouble, but not to get into trouble. The young and handsome could dance with me and call for Sunday supper. The young and handsome could write my name on their notebooks, carry my ribbons on the field for good luck. The uncles could hug me and chat for hours about my growing up. So I counted all 492 times this condition would make me victim to this trouble before I would be immune to it. The way colored folks were immune to polio. I had discovered innumerable manifestations of trouble: jealousy, fear, indignation, and reoccurring fits of vulnerability that led me right back to the contradiction I had never understood, even as a child, how half the world's population could be bad news, be young and handsome, and later eligible and interested and trouble. Plus, according to my own version of the history of the colored, only white people hurt little colored girls or grown colored women. My mama told me only white people had social disease and molested children. And my grandma told me only the white people committed unnatural acts. That's how come I knew only white folks got polio, muscular dystrophy, cirrhosis, and mental illness. This was all verified by the television. But I found out that the colored folks knew about the same vicious and disease-ridden passions that the white folks knew. The pain I succumbed to each time a colored person did something that I believed only white people did was staggering. My entire life seems to be worthless. If my own folks aren't better than the white folks, then surely the sagas of slavery and the Jim Crows hadn't convinced anyone that we were better than them. I commenced to buying pieces of gold. 14 karat, 24 karat, 18 karat gold. Every time some black person did something that was beneath them as a black person and more like a white person, I bought gold because it came from the earth, and more than likely it came from South Africa, where the black people are humiliated and oppressed like in slavery. I wear all these things at once to remind the black people that it cost a lot for us to be here. It costs a lot for us to be here. Our value can be known instinctively. But since so many black people are having a hard time not being like white folks, I wear these gold pieces to protest their ignorance, their disconnect from history. I buy gold with a vengeance. Each time someone appropriates my space or my time without permission, each time someone is discourteous or actually cruel to me, if my mind is not respected, my body toyed with, I buy gold and I weep. I weep as I fix the chains around my neck, my wrists, my ankles. I weep because all my childhood ceremonies for the ghost slaves have been in vain. Colored people can get polio and mental illness. Slavery is not unfamiliar to me. No one on this planet knows what I know about gold, about anything hard to get and beautiful, anything lasting, raw from pain. You see, no one understands that survival striving the impossible is supposed to insinuate the positive aspects of a people.
Off the hook, the way life was given. Through the degradations, our world has risen. But now it seems ourselves we in prison, fighting with each other, killing our children. Some had a dream that it would be okay for all of God's children, but not today. For us, they tried to make a better way, but it's as if we dug up their graves and shoved it in their face. Stop the killing, stop the violence. This is only spoken when another voice is silenced. Should this be our fate like it was our past? To me, it's a question we shouldn't have to ask. From where we began, I just can't understand. How can our mind be so poor when born to the richest of lands?
Now, maybe once upon 11:30. No, 11:45 in fact, because I watched the 11 o'clock news and tuned my radio to the blues and settled in for a nightly nap. Then there came a ringing and a rapping and a tapping upon my door and doorbell. I went to the window only to say, whoever it was, to please go away and quit your ringing and rapping and tapping upon my doorbell. I whipped the grief from beneath my feet and hit the pillow like concrete, and within a minute, I was fast asleep. Until the sound began repeating. A ring, a ring-a-ling, a ring, a ring-a-ling. For I said to myself, there was no one else. What bumbling idiot would even consider it? Knocking at my door at this time of night, ringing and rapping and tapping as if it was all right. I threw on my house coat and tattered house shoes and prepared myself for a bit of bad news. I went down my front stairs, approached my front door, and ironed myself with a 2x4. When I opened the door, who should I see? My strange landlord smiling at me. He said, hello, Mr. Ricks. So sorry to disturb you, but I'm quite certain you know that your rent is well overdue. I said, no, hello, Mr. Landlord. No bother at all. I was hoping you would stop by, or at least give me a call. Now, when I came to take a look at this building, you said, yes, of course, Mr. Ricks. I'll paint the ceiling, put carpet on the floor, and paint the walls. A few weeks after I moved in, I gave you a call about some unwanted guests. You said, yes, of course, yes. I'll put poison down for the mice, and I'll spray for the roaches, and cure the halls of halitosis. I'll lower the rent and raise the heat, and put all the undesirables onto the street. Now that was about 6 months ago, and I haven't seen you, and you haven't done any of the things you said you would do. I've called time after time. In fact, your children and wife have become friends of mine. I went to the fair house and council. As tenants, we have the rights too. I've talked with all the other tenants, and we've decided not to pay you until you do the things that you said you would do. Now, maybe about a week later, I was sitting at my kitchen table, and someone slipped a note on the door to expect an exterminator, about 3 or 4. Now, maybe a week after that, contractors showed up with contracts. They painted the walls, painted the ceilings, and put beautiful carpet through the apartment and halls. The tenement was filled with joy and laughter. The landlord was paid, and we lived happily ever after.
All right now. Go ahead. Yeah. Put your hands together. Yeah. First piece we're going to do is the title, What Will You Feed Your Children? It's dedicated to all the mothers. All right now. To the sisters, to the aunts, to all those working females. What will you feed your children? What would feed your children? Say, Melvin. Say that for me. Ooh, 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 What will you feed your children, black woman? for them. When they clamor for feet, when their thirst calls them from their sleep. When your children were ideas and unmanifest and pure, and fed daily on only your desire. Dreams were enough. Dreams were enough to fatten their teeth, to coax them from crying, to feed the spark they would become. But when they had become, and no longer lived with God, and at once became dependent on your food, when their bodies wasn't you, developing day by day by day. What feed the children? What will you feed the children? What will you feed the children? What will you feed the children? If your diet is death, what else will you get? With love and kindness or death? If your diet is death, what else will you get? With love and kindness or death? But if you are well fed, like mother, like sister, a nation can nurse at your breast. With your milk as our vision, bracing our backs, breaking the hold of disease, we were grown past generation. We are your children.